Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex, and he arrives at episode 364, where our receivers and manners are better than yours. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Sickly.
Glenn is sickly, thus the late recording.
We have two podcasters and an outbreak monkey.
Typhoid Glenn.
I'm spreading my germs.
My father-in-law is sick, and now my mother-in-law is sick. So I've got a couple of days of nice days off with Gemma this week.
What'd you guys do this week?
Well, I had a couple of really nice days off unexpectedly.
Me too.
But yours weren't nice days off.
No, they weren't.
I got to relax at home with my baby. I did watch Hunt for the Wilder People. A quirky film, but really enjoyable. I would highly recommend this one. It has some really good humor in it and very heartwarming. Good stuff.
Cool. I went and saw Lady Bird.
Ooh.
Which was good. Performances are phenomenal. I don't know that I would have necessarily put it up in my best film of the year material, but apparently I'm wrong because everybody's voting for it for everything. But it was a good movie. And then the next day we went and saw The Shape of Water.
Ooh.
Yeah.
As good as it looks?
It's as good as it looks. Beautifully shot, gorgeous, romantic creature movie. Which doesn't sound like it should go together at all.
A romantic monster movie.
Got my lights down. Kind of excited over that. Got Christmas finally put away. Glenn, what'd you... Oh, yeah, I remember.
Did you do anything besides get sick?
I did catch up on all my TV shows, so I finished Punisher. It's a really good series. Slow start, but it's really, really good. Really ends up well.
I did also listen to Unit Assembled, Volume 5 of the new Unit series.
Well, you're just trucking through those.
Yeah. But I've kind of listened to them as they've come out, so it's not like it's mainlining them or anything. It is so good. Because this is the one that's new Unit, old Unit, and then Silurians and Sea Devils.
Ooh.
There's one huge missed opportunity, but although I can fit
a certain Merca?
Yeah, it doesn't make an appearance, but I can make a headcanon that there's a form of Merca there. They just don't name drop it. But it's so how they use the classic Unit characters is so fantastic, so well done.
Remind me when we get to those that I'll build a adversary archive out of the Merca. We'll include that one.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Let's move on to some news. Big Finish has announced that after the conclusion of Doom Coalition, the Eighth Doctor is back. Of course, this is different than the Time War, so there's going to be two different lines for the Eighth Doctor running concurrently. The Time War is still going to be coming out. And now, Ravenous.
But these will obviously be set before the Time War.
These will be set before the Time War. This is post-Doom Coalition.
Aren't you glad we hadn't got to those yet? Because they've been in the wrong order.
So this is post-Doom Coalition, but
pre-Time War.
Time War.
From what I understand. He will be joined by Hattie Moran, Nicola Walker, and Mark Bonner, all return. And it's
Hurry up, get to it.
going to feature Ian McNeice as Churchill. And they're bringing back Candyman in one story. That's the big news.
I'm really disappointed. I can tell Glenn's sick because I didn't get more of an elated woohoo from him online.
I woohooed it earlier when I read the thing.
It really makes me want to mow through Doom Coalition so I can get to this story now. Because if Time War wasn't enough to make me want to jump in and really plow through it,
Did you go to
the Candyman will.
Did you go to the site and listen to the trailer?
No, I haven't.
So there's 4 stories in the box set, and
right.
So the trailer's split up into here's a tiny little segment of each story, and one of them is the moment. And the doctor, it's McGann being McGann and being awesome. He goes, "I know you, don't I?" And the Candyman starts to recite the Sugar and Sweet poem. And he goes, "It is you, isn't it? Candyman." And I went, "Ah!"
That's awesome.
I was quite elated.
There's going to be 3 box sets of Ravenous. So who knows what's coming down the line. But April 2018. No, I take it back. 4 box sets of Ravenous.
Thanks, Big Finish.
I don't think they all will feature Candyman, unfortunately.
No, I'm sure he's only...
He should be the big bad for the entire Ravenous.
Well, it's Ravenous. Right?
Exactly. Makes sense.
That'll be John Sims' master.
It'd be John Sims Master and Candyman teaming up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I would totally listen to that.
I'd pay to listen to that, too.
Two characters so bonkers that it only makes sense that they're together. He had to do something before he got on that spaceship from Mondas. Our other bit of news comes from our good friends at Candy Jar. They have rearranged the Series 5 schedule a little bit, and coming up later this month will be A Very Private Haunting by Sharon Bidwell.
That is the next official, because it's the kickoff for 5, right?
The kickoff for 5. There will be a special edition available, which includes an extended version of the short story The Wishing Bazaar, which Sharon Bidwell wrote. And then, of course...
making me read these things again.
Here's all the stuff Andy made me take out.
There's going to be a digital short called The Comrades by Brian Gallagher, a tale set during the Cold War. And so now the Series 5 line goes A Very Private Haunting, The Man from Yesterday, and capping off with The New Unusual.
Good to know.
So that's it. It's fit to print.
I hope Comrades brings back that Russian sub-captain from...
yeah.
Which one was it? Stone?
Stones of... Wait.
Not Mind of Stone.
No.
It's the earlier one.
Almost the Stones of Venice. That's not
it's the
right
Atlantis.
either.
Stones of Atlantis.
Stones of Atlantis.
Blood of Atlantis.
Blood of
Atlantis.
Atlantis, yes.
There's no stones. Well, there was a stone, but...
They were made of stones.
Yeah, they were stone. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Blood of Atlantis.
That Russian captain from that one, I hope, comes back in
That would be
Comrades.
nice.
He may not, but I liked him. Andy, that guy should come back. If he's not coming back, I'll just tell you.
That's it for news. And we don't have any feedback this week.
Let's move on to our review.
Planet of Evil. The Doctor and Sarah Jane answer an intergalactic distress call that takes them to a far-flung planet, Zeta Minor, at the edge of the known universe. Arriving at the same time as a rescue team, they search for survivors of an earlier expedition. But will anyone be allowed to leave the planet alive?
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, but they don't get very far. Because we spend half the story not on the planet.
That's true.
Almost more than half.
Almost more than half.
No, yeah. I think more than half.
It's about half.
I wasn't overly wowed by this story.
I think they're on that ship 3 of the 4 episodes.
I think so too. Of course, some of that 3 of the 4 they were on
The
planet.
Doctor goes back to the planet, but
Wasn't the ship landed
Well,
on the
it was
planet
landed
for?
on the planet.
Okay, so I guess if you're counting those scenes before they get to the planet, then yes,
I got
technically
you.
there's more than
Yeah.
half. But you can't call it Ship of Evil. It doesn't have the same ring.
And really, the planet wasn't.
Well, they weren't
that
trying
evil.
to escape the ship; they were trying to escape the planet. I think this. I mean, that's typical of Doctor Who and the misguided titling.
Oh,
they
yeah,
do that
absolutely.
frequently. The planet's not
Unlike Creature from the
inherently
Pit.
evil. It's just
Did you know we made that joke? Did you notice there was a creature and
In a
there was
pit?
a pit,
It's
was
true.
my first thought.
and the
was,
creature
Oh, look,
was
a
from
pit.
the pit. Yeah, you didn't like it.
I didn't love it.
Keith didn't like it.
It was a fine story. I thought it had some really good ideas in it. I think part of why I didn't enjoy it as much is even knowing where this takes place in Tom's run, it didn't seem like his normal Tom.
He's very stoic.
He's very stoic. He's much more serious, and especially considering where he is in his run. This is just after Terror of the Zygons, at his peak of zaniness, in my opinion.
He's not. If
There's darkness and zaniness at the same time.
if you look back though at Zygons, he's very much the same stoic character. There's not a lot of zany to it, is he?
It's
Either.
true.
And that was kind of It was kind of a zone that he was in when they started the second season, his second season.
I guess I'm just so used to first season Tom.
Yeah. Well,
and I lumped her in with that.
And
so.
then I have a feeling it probably had the series probably had a lot to do with what was happening in Tom's life at the time. And I don't know specifically what was happening at this time, but Tom seems to be a very, kind of ebb and flow type person. And I think maybe this was maybe a time where he wasn't as, happy or as excited. I don't think it had anything to do with Doctor Who, because I think he was excited about doing that. He was really engrossing himself in the Doctor. But I think there's at least Zygons, this one, and then I can't remember what follows this one up. But there is a period of time there where he does he plays the Doctor a little bit more subdued than he does in season one, or his first season and even his third season. I think he kind of becomes a bit, zanier again as time goes on, especially with Sarah. When you look at
so Pyramids is next.
Yes. So okay. So I was about to say
he's a little dour in that one too.
Well, I think Pyramids.
He's written dour,
but he's dour. I think early on, but I think that there are those little there's those little Thomism moments.
Yeah.
In Pyramid, and I think that's kind of the
upswing. Kind of upward. Yeah. And I think that's I think that's a large part of it. And it felt like he wasn't quite written as Tomish. He's just kind of written more generically, I felt.
I can see that.
I thought Sarah had a decent amount to do, but their chemistry didn't quite seem on point as it normally is.
That's what I thought was spot on. This is the first story that I really feel like Tom and Sarah, or the Doctor and Sarah Jane, are becoming very much in sync, in tune with each other, and becoming very, very good friends at this point.
Well, I think so.
I think that I think their chemistry really works from this point on, from this story on, the best.
I think it really shows that they're working together well, and the fact that they can really split up and get stuff done the way they want to. Yeah. I don't know if the jabbing at each other is the fun poking that normally I see between the two of them was as prevalent in this one.
Well, that's Series 17's poking at each other. I mean, well, I suppose there's a little bit more of that later on as well in 18.
No, there's 12.
12?
Season.
I'm sorry. Season 12. That's why I'm back. Okay. I'm going way too. My brain scrambled today. Yes.
I know what you meant.
Early on.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to default back to the first season. His first season.
12.
Yes. There's that, but in a different way, because they're really kind of getting to know each other. And
right.
I think this is the point where they really kind of become more in sync from this point on, in my opinion.
I think they're more in sync. It doesn't seem like they're having as much fun together as normal.
Well, it's Planet's evil. I think though the Doctor sells the gravity of the situation here too.
Oh, he does.
I think he really, especially when he's got a ship of people that aren't listening to him the whole 9 yards.
I think another part of it is I wish I would have cared about any of the people on the ship. The one guy, the one scientist guy that actually trusts and listened to the Doctor, I liked. Everyone else, I could have died. I didn't really care about him, especially the leader.
Which science guy that listened to him? The guy was infected.
The gray-haired guy.
The gray-haired guy.
Oh, he wasn't a... Well, I guess he was saying. He was second in command.
Yeah,
he was also another military guy.
Yeah.
Riker.
Yeah. Complete with the chest hair down there.
I don't know. I like the ship's commander, too, though. I mean, I don't like him, but...
He plays the type.
Yeah, well, he does. He plays the type, he does it well. I quite enjoyed... Because it really does give somebody for you to play off of as an antagonist when you're not really the antagonist. I mean, you are, but you're not. But you got two antagonists here. You've got the evil, and then you've got this ship commander. And I kind of like the two layers of having that working against Tom. You call him Tom. The Doctor and Sarah Jane. And, yeah, I liked it. I kind of liked the dynamic there. I was going to come here tonight and say, yeah, this was kind of a middle-of-the-road story. I enjoyed this story. It's probably only the third time I've seen this one because I haven't seen it a lot. And the more I talk about it, the more I liked it. So this was a darn good bump. So I'm going to let Sean talk. I keep interrupting him. Go on.
The story is nothing but problems. It's very cookie cutter. It's very template Doctor Who. We've got a problem, and everybody's dead, and the Doctor and Sarah get blamed for it, and then there's a whole new group of people that show up that we're going to play 10 little Indians with and start killing them off one at a time with whatever this malevolent insert creature, insert force, insert whatever here. It's a world of antimatter, or at least it's touching the world of antimatter, but it's not the same antimatter from Omega's universe. So it behaves differently.
Well, it can be because it's nearest antimatter.
Antimatter can.
It's like on the outskirts of an antimatter universe.
Right, but it's not the antimatter universe. It's just a antimatter universe. Okay, whatever.
It can be the edge of the antimatter universe.
But then it should behave according to the rules that were previously established. Mm-hmm. Not that Doctor Who's ever established rules and played with them.
It sort of does, and it doesn't, though. I mean, I don't know that antimatter is going to actually snap back like a rubber band. But.
And then there's the caricatures of the, okay, I'm the guy that's not going to trust you, so I have to be completely this guy. And
the guy does a really good job of making you hate him.
Now, having said that, I do not care one lick. I love this story. I love it. And I love it because it's cookie cutter Doctor Who, and it's a template, and I know what I'm getting into.
It's comfort
It's comfort food. Yeah. Exactly. That's really exactly it. The sets are fantastic. I'm going to go off on my production values. The interior of the spaceship, and I watched a little bit of the documentaries on this, and one of the things they talked about is the studio floor. And it drove them nuts because anytime they shot in the studio, in order to get the cameras to move around, they had to leave the floor alone. Sometimes they'd paint it, but it was always the studio floor. And it was always recognizable as that's the studio floor. If a Dalek rolled through the shot, you knew what you know. So it didn't matter what you built because you knew where you were at. And it was having trouble for them to suspend their disbelief. So the set designer for this one, he was very involved in upper levels and stairs and ladders, and let's put things there so that we can shoot up and
so
get you off the floor. And I didn't look, but I suspect it's probably the same guy that did
Warriors of the Deep.
Warriors of the Deep, or Ark in Space was another one that had a lot of the multi-level.
Well, the one that I was thinking of, although they got off the tripod a lot, or the camera stand a lot, was the one with the lions. In
Circle?
the Space trilogy.
Warriors Gate.
Warriors Gate,
yeah.
The one with the lions.
That one.
The lion people.
But there's that. And then there's the planet. The jungle is phenomenal. This does not look like any other studio-bound jungle set that they've ever created.
I'll go with that.
It does look very
different. I don't think it looks great, but I do agree with it.
Especially compared to just recently watching Creature from the Pit and seeing them actually film in a jungle. You can truly tell the difference.
I mean, compare the jungle set here to the jungle set for Creature from the Pit, or the jungle set from what's the one with the big mandible? The scary one that wasn't scary. Romana and the drug and the
Nightmare of Eden.
Nightmare of Eden, when they go in through the little window into the jungle.
Yeah,
that looks like, or the Ark. It's the same jungle set. This all of a sudden, this was an alien world. I bought into that. I
think what this one has going for it is it's not a jungle. It's an alien world, is what it is.
Yeah,
it has jungle-like atmosphere and jungle-like trappings, but it's different colors. It's different look. So that's what it has going for it.
They made an effort to make it look alien as opposed to a jungle.
I think there's a lot of moments in this, and I don't fault Doctor Who for this because they shot on a set, but this one really looks like a set to me throughout most of it. I mean, and I think that's the only little thing that bothered me about it. But then again, you're right. You're exactly right. It's above and beyond some of the other jungles. Not Creature, because that was all shot outdoors. But for the most part,
this was apparently a direct response to Star Trek, because the guy watched all these Star Trek episodes and went, "How come every planet they go to is the same? It's a desert with a couple of rocks and then a colored backdrop." I'm not going to do that on Doctor Who. So he went and convinced them, and they apparently even redirected some funds from later in the season to really do this one up. So it kind of hurts me that you think, it's 3 parts ship and 1 part jungle. So
that is mostly...
It is, for the most part. Most of it's done on the ship.
And the ship has gorgeous sets.
It is.
And I like the effect. I I genuinely did like the sets and the effects throughout this entire thing. I like the look of the antimatter monster. I think that's a really cool and clever way to try to portray that. The effect it has on the people when it kills them, the mummified looking corpses that at least we find, I thought was a very clever and cool idea. I think there's a lot of great production value. It was just my enjoyment while watching it wasn't as high.
I think the thing that speaking of the spaceship or the ship set, it doesn't at any time have that running through corridors feel where they're running down the same corridor, because there are so many different levels and different angles and things like that. So I think
other than
that's
going up into the storage area, which you then have to walk back down to get into.
Yeah, well,
one outside ladder, one inside.
But that's okay, because that's one location though too. I mean that's the point, is when you get there, you know where you're at. A lot of times when you run through corridors, it could be the same corridor over and over again to get to completely different places, and so this one doesn't have that feel of continually running through the same corridor.
Right. Yeah. But and then the monster. Now I've seen people online, and even I think the jacket, they describe it as, this is the one where they ripped off the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because we're in that let's rip off classic literature Who stage. I've never really seen Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I understand where they're coming from with the professor once he gets infected with antimatter and kind of loses it, but I've never really seen Jekyll and Hyde in this story. Now, Forbidden Planet, yes. I totally get Forbidden Planet. We've got an invisible monster. We've got the base that's been nearly wiped out, and the people that aren't there. And I love Forbidden Planet. So that's another reason my enjoyment of this one is way up there. Because it's like, yeah, if you're going to steal Forbidden Planet, steal Forbidden Planet and do the invisible monster. Cool. You talk about the relationship between the Doctor and Sarah. And I think, for me, it's always been, after the initial shock of seeing him change in Robot, and Robot feels weird for the Sarah Jane Doctor relationship. But then we follow Robot up with Ark in Space, and for me, they fall right back into it. They're Sarah Jane and the Doctor. This is just how it is, and this is how it's meant to be. And it's got my favorite line when, you lie there blubbing, and he's kind of prodding her from verbally, and they're in that verbal sparring mode that I think you were talking about. Yeah. But this one, while the Doctor's a little more stoic, this is just they've settled into that old married couple routine where they are very comfortable in their relationship, and she's still giving him pointers about, well, we could go do this. Well, we can't do that because of this. Yeah, but the force field's turned off. And he just doesn't play it up maybe as much as, say, a season 16 Douglas Adams Doctor would.
Right. Yeah.
But it's still there that she's still, prodding and giving these pointers. And every interaction they have is golden.
I agree.
Riveted watching the performance from these two.
I think that what this also does is it takes Harry Sullivan out of the picture, which isn't always a good thing, because I really enjoyed Harry Sullivan. But this is the first one away from Harry. Yeah. And I think why I felt like they were always... I think you're right. Ark in Space is that spark of familiarity. But I still think that all the way through, although part of it's because they're separated so often, because you've got Harry thrown into the mix. But I think their relationship, and it's probably because you've removed Harry at this point, from this point on is where their relationship really feels like, they know each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's the Sarah Jane and Doctor relationship that I like, is from this point on. But I think maybe if I put my finger on it, it's because Harry's there that it doesn't feel the same as it does once Harry's gone. So.
Yeah, I could buy that. Because then you follow this one up with pyramids.
Pyramids, yeah.
She's got the gun. Don't miss. I won't miss. And that's all they have to,
Yeah.
He didn't need to say it, and she didn't need to tell him that she wasn't going to, but they did. And then, it's just, oh, God, I love the Doctor and Sarah Jane together.
Which is still one of my favorite Doctor and Sarah Jane stories.
It's a good one. Yeah. But, so yeah, I mean, the plot, yeah, like I said, it's cookie cutter. But for me, it's very much comfort food. And here's the weird thing about this. Maybe I'm coming at this almost too fresh, because there are Doctor Who stories that I look at as comfort food, and I can't wait to watch them again. Pyramids or Ark in Space or Invisible Enemy. But then this is one, I was sitting there watching it, and it was all new. I don't think I've seen this probably since the first time KCPT aired it. Way back when. That was probably the first time I saw it, and I don't think I've watched it again since then. So, I knew I recognized the jungle from the cover, but that was about it. And as it kind of went into it and started going, I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of remember this. And then they launched the little robot hover drone thing. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I kind of remember that, because it creeped me out with the weird eye on the front of it. But that was about it. I didn't remember anything else. And then it got to the ship, and I went, oh, okay, I kind of remember this. I remember them being tied up and put in the
that was a great
ejection tube, which was a great scene.
Yeah, that was great.
It was so great they would later steal it and use it again in Seeds of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Only with a mulcher blade at the end.
Right, yeah.
But it just kind of kept unfolding on me, going, I don't remember this. I don't remember. Oh, this part I kind of sort of remember. No, I don't remember this. I don't remember this. So it was like discovering. It was like discovering there was a Doctor Who episode that I had never seen, and going, oh, I love this because I've never seen it. So I don't know. It was too fresh for me. Maybe
There's a lot of times that I'll do that where I just won't remember much about it, knowing that I had seen it years ago. This one though, I don't think I got it from you. I think I got this one. This was one of the ones that Duncan's Movie Magic had.
Yeah, I don't remember owning this one.
And I remember, I didn't rent it because I worked there, but checking that one out and watching it. And it seems like even now that I said 3 times, but now I'm thinking, I think I also saw this on Daily Motion more recently. This was one of the ones that was on Daily Motion Daily Motion? Yeah, Daily Motion website for a while. But so this was probably the 3rd or 4th viewing of it. But I like it. I knew what I was getting into though, because it was fresh enough in my mind, even after 5 or 6 years, that what it was. And I'm rambling.
I forget that you did do a. I'm aware that you've always been. I don't know if I can call you a bigger Who fan than me, but
a more habitual rewatcher.
There you go. I remember specifically when we first started the podcast, and just before when you kind of come with the idea, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down for it. And I kind of remember being peripherally aware that you had started getting a little more serious about doing some research ahead of time. Yeah. And I've always kind of been a fly by the seat of my pants. Okay, what are we doing this week? All right, I should go watch that.
Even before that, because I got re-intrigued, particularly after the movie came back out, the 96 film. And I think I stumbled across a few years later the early Big Finish stuff when it was coming out. And then, of course, you and I had met in 94, and I borrowed a dozen of you had a bunch of stuff on VHS you hadn't even watched. Yeah.
Well, that's the collector in me. Even as I was buying them in the early parts of the podcast, I would go and start picking them up, and I'd put them on the shelf and go, look, I have 12 Doctor Who episodes now. I think I probably only watched one of the 12.
Yeah.
And it was Brain of Morbius, because it's Morbius. So, talk about comfort food.
Plus, whatever you didn't have, Duncan's had.
Yeah.
Or some of them were double, but some of them got Duncan's. And then I got online there for a while before the series came back in 2005. And that's where I started finding some of them online. Although it was still hard to watch them back then, because you either had to download them or watch them on a really tiny streaming video.
Yeah.
And then over the course of the last 10 years or so, I've watched a bunch of them that I didn't have on Daily Motion or other avenues. So iTunes, things like that.
Yeah, like I say, it's funny how the memory cheats, because mine was telling me I don't think I've ever seen this, but I had to have.
What is it? That was 30 years ago, Sean. 30 plus years ago.
Don't remind me. Somebody made that.
That's why. I mean,
somebody made that comment.
If you watched Star Wars in '77 and then didn't watch it again until today,
it might seem new to me.
Yeah, it would seem very new to you. You would remember hardly any of it.
Somebody made that comment about all the kids that are born in the year 2000 are now 18. We're not going to talk about that. But, yeah, I'm trying to think, because when PBS was running them, it would have been maybe 80, well, not even 80, somewhere between probably 79 and 84 is probably the first time I saw it. So, yeah, 30 years. 35. What year is it? I don't want to do the math. I really liked it. I had a great time watching this, and I was just captivated and could not believe that it was one that I hadn't re-seen.
One thing I did like about it was the professor guy that gets mutated and starts turning. His whole story arc of him wanting to prove his theory of trying to improve energy, and I thought that was a really nice and progressive storyline for him to have.
Well, it works well as it turns, because he's the one that's infected, it turns him from being the bad guy of the piece into being the victim of the piece, because he really is trying to do something positive.
Yeah, and it just all blows up in his face.
I think the thing that I don't like about it, and you talked a little bit about the borrowing from Jekyll and Hyde, was the Jekyll and Hyde aspect of it. And I think for visual purposes, they went that way, that he transforms into this monster. But I kind of felt like if you were being infected by this antimatter or being possessed by this creature that's infiltrating this ship in this way, I don't think that you would have that Jekyll and Hyde persona type. The outer appearance. You would have it... your mental faculties.
He
would be
almost
that
had
way.
an inferno look to him.
Yeah, what was the point of having the virile look to him? But
to give a visual monster for the episode.
Well, that's why I say I think obviously that the clear answer to that is to give it some sort of visual representation as well.
Although
I felt it was
glowing eyes were really cool.
Which I thought was satisfactory. On the other hand, to probably maintain that special effect for all of the times that they needed to, because he does turn into the
Cro-Magnon man.
Yeah, often. So I suppose in order to maintain that, it would probably have been more costly to do it. But yeah, the glowing eyes was a really great effect.
Yeah.
One thing I felt cheated on is when Riker and Sarah Jane, they go and we go get the thing, and so they sneak out of the cabin up at the bridge, and they go to the storage closet, and they pick up the ray guns and a bunch of cable and some boxes, and he's like, "We'll set up a portable force field," and I'm like, "Okay, this will be cool." And he says, "Point them on the floor." So she starts laying these things down and pointing them at the doors and everything like that, and plugging in cables and everything like that. And then the bad guys come and bust in through the doors, and we never really see them do anything with it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just kind of like, oh. You left the safety of the bridge to go get this stuff, right? So I kind of wanted to see something happen.
At least see it deflect the bad guys.
No.
I sort of like and maybe it's unintentional misdirection. Maybe I'm reading more into it than I thought. But each time that I've watched this, I remember thinking that Sarah Jane and the Doctor have arrived years after this exhibition is there. And you kind of get that impression because the wrench almost looks like it's aged. It's like...
Oh, yeah. The initial group that the professor is a part of had been there for a long time.
Right.
And mummified corpses. And
yeah, exactly. And so, but then when the professor shows back up, and it occurs to you that he's coming back from the exhibition to the one place where they found the vein that had a lot of the materials. It had only been a night between that time, well, at least a night cycle, between that time and the time that Sarah and the Doctor show up, and then again when the ship arrives. So, but they give the impression that we saw something that had happened years prior, and then the Doctor and Sarah Jane, because there's a and again, I think it's unintentional misdirection where the Doctor talks about being off by so many years too when they're trying to return to London, and not only have they arrived in the wrong location, they've arrived in the wrong time, and that's obviously to convey that it's many years in the future. However, it kind of it trips you up, making you think that perhaps like you say, with the corpses laying there that have been sucked dry, disappear, and then reappear, which that was kind of an odd choice too. But
well, and when
I suppose for the effect, maybe that
you need to have a body to find.
When we get into the base, there's he finds the distress signal and comments that it's worn down.
Yeah, that's the other thing, that it's been running for a long time. And I think that's what makes you think, oh gosh, they came here years later, only to find out that it was just the night before.
I struggled with that for a while, and I haven't gone back and looked this one up. I should have, of all the things I looked up on this. It made me wonder, because of the professor's comments when the guy says, well, we can come back to the vein. He says, we can't. It won't be here. The planet changes. It makes me wonder if there's like time pockets or something, that there's a weird time dilation effect that's happening, so that when they get back to a vein now, maybe they're at that point way in the future and it's not there anymore. Just something that I wonder if had been written in there and then got dropped because they thought maybe it was just a little too much.
Could be, but you can easily apply to the fact that whatever this is this entity that's in this planet is obviously moving that material around.
Yeah,
that's why they're having a hard time.
That's why I say planet of evil.
That's why they're having a hard time finding these veins, because once it's discovered, the thing moves whatever materials they're looking for to a new location.
Maybe it's Califrax.
Anything else about this one?
I really liked it.
All right, Sean, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up on
we got a lot coming up on the schedule.
A lot coming up on the schedule.
Whole new schedule.
We got a schedule.
Whole new schedule, which is, of course, available on our website, travelingvortex.com.
Of course, Keith and I have both made him amend it twice.
Yes. Well, once was my fault.
Well,
once was you being difficult. If you're one of those people that likes to follow along at home and do your homework with us this week, it's a short week now, but we're going to be listening to some Paul McGann. Speaking of the Eighth Doctor, we are in season 3. Thank you, Keith.
Yes.
Of the Eighth Doctor Adventures, we're going to listen to number 2, Hot House. And then we are also reviewing the next batch of Titan comics for the Ninth Doctor, finishing off season 1 or series 1 or first year, whatever they're calling these things now.
Right now it's just called Ongoing.
The Ongoing, but it's 9 through 15, right?
10 through 15.
10 through 15. We did 9. So 10 through 15. So 5 issues of a comic and then some big finish. The following week is kind of similar because we're going to do the next Eighth Doctor Big Finish audio adventure in season 3, which is The Beast of Orlok. And then we're doing, which Doctor is that?
12th
no,
Doctor.
It's 12. The 12th Doctor issues. So I'm trying to do this from memory, and I shouldn't have done that.
Well, this is where it gets complicated.
Yeah, because there's 4 issues involved in this one. There's 3 together, and then we skip one and we go to the next one.
That's 10th Doctor then, yeah.
It's 10th Doctor, 6 through 8, and 10.
6 through 8 and 10, because 9 is part of
Lost Dimension,
which we've decided we're going to do all of Lost Dimension together, and we are fairly confident that Lost Dimension does not tie in any way, shape, or form to the existing run of comics. So
it does.
Don't tell me that.
So to make it easier, when Titan released the graphic novel for 10, which is Facing Fate, Vortex, Butterflies, it is just those issues.
Yeah.
It skips over Lost Dimension.
Which indicates to me that it doesn't really have anything to do with...
It does, and I was just trying to coach you.
Jerk.
So if you just run out and pick up that graphic novel or check it out digitally, you'll be able to read along with us.
Read the same ones.
Can't read along with me because I've already read it.
Oh, 2 weeks ahead, Glenn?
I know, right?
How are you going to remember what happened then?
I probably won't.
I struggle with that.
I didn't have anything to do, guys.
You finished all your shows.
I did. I was laying in bed and I read the 9th Doctor stuff and I thought, I've got the 10th Doctor stuff. I'll read it too.
So 9th Doctor this week, 10th Doctor the following week. And then what's the following week?
The following week, we're going to look back at the Moffat era.
Oh, that's right. I began to think to myself, it was like, we should do a Moffat retrospective. That's what happens when you take 2 words that are not meant to go together and shove them together and make one new word. A Motrospective.
That's what it's called now.
But I said we should do a
We should do a Motrospective.
We should do a Motrospective now that it's official. And I couldn't remember. I knew that we had done an early one, but I couldn't remember how early. In the 40s.
I didn't even remember doing one. So.
You didn't really?
Nope.
We did one for RTT.
Yeah, I remember doing one for RTT.
We apparently talked 5 and 6 about
RTD.
RDT?
RTD.
Did I say RDT? RTD.
We both did.
RTD.
But, yeah. No,
Russell.
Yeah, you know who should be here for this?
Back when we did our Russell-spective.
But yeah, so I thought we should do one now that it's officially over with, and it's been a month, so we can kind of put a little distance between us and the Christmas special and see where we're at with it. So we're gonna kind of recap what we thought, and it'll be especially meaningful for Keith since it was his first real era.
That's true.
Of Who coming to an end.
I've gone back and started rewatching season 5 in preparation for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I just did all of Capaldi leading up to Christmas, so I might as well knock these 3 seasons out too.
So just a fun little,
when he twist my arm.
Yeah. When he says watching, he means he has them on in the background while he's working. But.
Yeah, or while Jim is asleep on my chest.
Yeah. I booted up a BBC America. And I wonder if Doctor Who's on. 6 a.m. Of course, Doctor Who's on. It's BBC America. And it was Fear Her, and I went, nope, not even a little bit. But yeah, so no homework that week unless you want to go back and watch 5 seasons of Who. But just
5 seasons plus, because you got the specials.
Oh, the specials and But well, the other specials, not the specials.
Right.
The
spread out specials.
What are you talking about?
Time of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, and then the Christmas specials and the gap year for Capaldi.
Well, those are still part of the seasons.
Did you say the specials? I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No,
I think those specials.
You got to watch the last 5 minutes of End of Time, and then.
Was the best part of the End of Time.
Arguably.
The only part worth watching at the End of Time.
It's got Wilf in it.
That's true.
And I don't mind the master plan with the master race. Okay. That's neither here nor there because we're not doing that. But no homework for the final week of January unless you want to watch 5 years plus of Moffat's run.
Yeah, because we had a whole year off, so there's really 6.
And I expect Andy to write in with all kinds of feedback about this particular era of Who. That's me poking the bear with a stick.
Who?
Andy.
Oh, gosh.
Why don't you tell us how much you love this era of Who, Andy?
I'll have to set aside a tirade section of it. Anything else this week we need to talk about? I know if people want to contact us, they can do what, Keith?
They can go to our website, travelingthevortex.com, where you can also find the schedule, and just click on the Send Us Feedback tab, and that'll send it to us, or you can send it directly to feedback@travelingthevortex.com.
You'll also find us on various forms of social media.
Yep.
And if you want to help us financially, we do have a Patreon site where you can donate to this show, and every bit of that money goes right back into this show. Anything else we need to cover this week, Sean?
I don't believe so.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure.
If that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
What he said.
Ditto.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.